Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. And today we want to talk about something you probably have at some point in time heard about, and that's Bitcoins. And I know I usually focus more so, on the business side with trading, things like binary options, currencies, and things like that. But today I want to talk a little bit about the situation with Bitcoins. Bitcoins is a kind of unofficial currency. It doesn't belong to any country. It's a decentralized currency. No government has control over Bitcoins. And if you don't know what Bitcoins are, I'm going to try to give you a brief explanation of Bitcoins and how they came about. If you're, already trading Bitcoins or know all about Bitcoins, you can kind of fast forward through the video. That way I don't, bore you with the explanation. But or you can stay and listen to the explanation, because maybe how I explain it might be a little bit different from what you've heard so far, because I have found that people who aren't in the financial industry, who don't work in money, I find that they sometimes have a little bit of trouble explaining, how Bitcoin works and how money works in general to a degree. So I'm going to attempt to maybe try to make that a little bit easier and maybe let you see it a little bit through different eyes. But Bitcoins is basically a digital currency, right? Years ago, if you wanted to trade money, you had to have basically a way to transport the money. The money itself had to be of some usable value. That way, basically, you knew why it was something you could trade with. For instance, gold. In antiquity years ago, used gold as money, but the value of gold derived from a lot of it derived from it being used in religious ceremonies a lot, right? They thought gold is shiny, precious metal that never rusted. They felt that gold was of the gods, and so it always had value. You always needed gold. In addition to that, gold was rare, so it was only so much of it you could find and mine at a time. So it was valuable because they needed it. For religious ceremonies, it was hard to get. But when you fast forward to the future, you find that the ideas of money creating rarity and portability and things like that, don't quite work like they did in the old days. With computers, we don't need to, we can create artificially rarity. We don't have to carry money on our persons and things like that. So Bitcoins is digital, and it's taken the place of what we had to do with money years ago, how we had to transport money. It's rare because there are only a certain amount of Bitcoins that have been created online. It's safe for the most part, or pretty much has been safe because of the it being what they call a cryptocurrency. So it uses encryption. When you're moving it from place to place, and it's creates this type of security protocol, right? So and in that creates so let's talk a little bit about what creates the actual value of Bitcoins. Now, a lot of people say a lot of different things about what actually makes Bitcoin valuable, but I think in just those things I just said, that it being portable, it being rare and safer, I think that answers a lot of questions why it is of value. But let's get into a few other things what makes Bitcoins valuable as well. And if you go back to the early days of Bitcoins, and I guess people are still doing it, but I don't think they're doing it as much anymore. Go back to the earlier days of Bitcoin. You had a lot of what they call Bitcoin miners, where they would create these encryptions. I believe they were called hashes and things like that. And basically it was almost like a transformation of the labor to create these encryption codes and things like that through the use of their electricity, kind of like how we convert our labor today in the workplace to money, right? You go out, you labor for somebody, labor that someone finds a value for some reason or another, and you're paid for it, right? So that kind of created value in Bitcoins. But then a lot of people will go, well, okay, well, yeah, but that's it still doesn't quite get or understand how that makes Bitcoins valuable for people to want to use them. So one other thing that's become quite important with Bitcoins, and something that basically is starting to be seen as a great use to Bitcoins, in the comparison of Bitcoins being considered a currency, a digital currency. Some people don't really see it as that at all. Some people just see it as a really good money transfer service. But if you think of something that is of use as a good money transfer service, that's saying a lot as far as the value of Bitcoins, because basically, in short, you can transfer Bitcoins for nothing, basically cheap. You can, very cheap or nothing at all, because you can move it all across the world, and you don't have to pay fees like you pay like a lot of different money transfer services that are charging you 3% and this and that. And that's a big market of funds that could be that Bitcoin creates some competition for, and value, that all those billions of dollars in value that comes from money transfer services. Bitcoin has now can be seen as a useful method, and vehicle, to get those things done. So, yeah, those are some of the things that make Bitcoins valuable enough to be worth something. Also, of course, it comes down to who takes Bitcoins, who's receiving Bitcoins. If you have businesses and merchants who are taking Bitcoins, like, what we've gotten, we've gotten people able to buy and purchase entire vehicles with Bitcoins, things like that. If you've gotten that, then that's creating value for Bitcoin, because now Bitcoin has a market, where it can, people, are taking Bitcoins. Businesses are accepting Bitcoin. So now you have a market for Bitcoins. And other things that make Bitcoins valuable are, like ideas like of the anarchists. You got people who, don't trust the government anymore. Don't like, specifically like in America, how the Federal Reserve works. A lot of people don't feel that a private entity should have control of our money supply. And so you get a lot of philosophies about that. You get a lot of theories about that. And you get a lot of people who just want complete control of their money, and Bitcoin provides that. So that group of people will always exist, I think. The rebels, the anarchists, and that will feed the Bitcoin economy as well. So you have several different things working with Bitcoins that make Bitcoins of value to someone. And what we've seen over the years, because of the limited amount of Bitcoins in circulation or that were created, that as more people buy them, the price goes up, right? And as Bitcoin expands and grows, the value of it goes to the point it makes people millionaires. Just to give you an idea of the effect that Bitcoin has had on some people's lives as far as building them financially and creating wealth in individuals, is that several years ago, if you purchased $100 worth of Bitcoin 7 years ago, it would now be worth $75 million. And that's not a mistake. There are only 21 million Bitcoins in circulation, I believe. So, this is something that's been taken serious now by, people in the financial industry. A lot of billionaires or multi-billionaires, have now seen it, quite feasible to have portfolios full of Bitcoins, just in case. And I, for one, whereas I'm not a diehard cryptocurrency fan, this is something kind of on the hobby side for me. This is something I would hold in my risk portfolio, much like I do with binary options and things of the sort. But nevertheless, Bitcoins are opportunity, and if you're a serious investor, I don't think you can turn a blind eye to Bitcoin. So, in my view, you should hold some Bitcoins. Now, how much Bitcoins you should hold is going to depend on you and your financial tolerance. Good thing about Bitcoins, whereas now I think the price of a Bitcoin might be around about $2,700. There are exchanges, there are systems, and I'll provide some in the links in the description, where you can buy Bitcoins for whatever amount you want, $50, $100. And there are some, good options, for that. That's just a quick crash course on Bitcoins, how they work, what's been going on with them. Are they dangerous? Will putting money in Bitcoins cause you to lose your money? Well, there isn't an investment out there today, whereas I think anybody has ever been able to say that putting money in, you had a safe bet. That just doesn't exist. But I think at the stage Bitcoins have grown to now, unlike in the past, I think Bitcoins have become quite I don't want to say stable, but there seems to be a type of floor and ceiling to Bitcoins. And what I mean by that, over all these years, we've never seen Bitcoins jump up to $1,000 and jump down to $10 or anything crazy like that. There seems to be this kind of floor and ceiling with Bitcoins, and as they drop or as they raise in a certain level, what has proven to be the case is that they have returned to value. So a person who's held on to Bitcoins have seen that. And that's another thing I would want to say about Bitcoins, is that I think Bitcoins should be looked at as a long-term holding portfolio. So this is going to be something a lot different from what I probably teach in binary options, which binary options are going to be short-term. Something like Bitcoins would be something that you would want to hold on to. And putting $100 into Bitcoins, I don't think that would be a bad move at all. Some interesting things we've heard about Bitcoins, predictions from, I believe it was one of the board members, sits on the board of directors of PayPal, which, interesting enough, by him saying this, because PayPal is a money transfer service itself. And Bitcoins is pretty much come to, amongst other things, it's kind of come to competition with PayPal, or in the near future probably will be. And he's saying that he believes that one Bitcoin will go to $1 million. I had been hearing things like 100,000 before, now it's $1 million. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Some people believe they're going to grab a certain percentage of the foreign currency market, and that's why. The money transfer services, more people are going to start taking Bitcoins as they're doing now. Countries like China, which they're doing now, are going to be investing a lot in the Bitcoins. So you got a lot of things happening with Bitcoins. And that's why I would say that there is no reason, I believe, in my opinion, not to hold $100 of Bitcoins, few $100, even $1,000 of Bitcoin, just long term, as part of your portfolio. And if you got money laying around that you got to invest, or you already got a portfolio and things like that, get you some Bitcoins. Now, I will be doing videos in the future on how to go about buying Bitcoins, how to trade Bitcoins, things like that. This is just the first video, introductory video on, basic coins work and things like that, and why you should be buying them. But we will get into some more information about Bitcoins. And again, guys, there are a lot of great cryptocurrency sites out there, and I definitely invite you to look at those guys. They've been I want to incorporate Bitcoins into what I'm doing with my channel, specifically because of some of the other things we do, whether it be the binary options or the smartphone farming. And as you can see right here, there are a lot of apps for Bitcoins, and I'm learning some of them. I have made some half decent money with some of them, and we'll be doing some videos on which ones are best for you to get some free Bitcoins and make some free money. And they are real, and they do pay. Part of the reason too is because of Bitcoin is not just about making money to understand about Bitcoins, which is something that may be a little bit different from other currencies where the goal is just to make as much money as you can. Bitcoins kind of sits on this philosophy about being separate, not being controlled by the government, where people control their money and not governments. And so there are a lot of businesses, companies, individuals, movements that want to give away Bitcoins, that want to get people trusting and trading Bitcoin. So that's why you got a lot of free opportunities to get Bitcoins. It is real money. There are real Bitcoins. I can attest to that. I've been collecting them I guess about 2014, 2015, and I've seen my my money increase about 7 times now. And what irks me about it, I wish I could have been the guy who bought $100 worth several years ago. And we can see by the price of Bitcoins that this is all very real, that this isn't, some scam or, like I said, Bitcoins, a lot of people were worried about the turbulence of Bitcoins, but Bitcoins, even though it still do these large spikes, if you're a long-term investor in Bitcoins, I would say you've won, So the only people who've lost have been people who've looked at Bitcoins in a short-term, make quick money way. And, I would suggest you don't do that. Some of the calculations are from over the next 5 to 10 years, Bitcoins are going to go from $100,000 a coin to $1 million. So these are very serious predictions, and it's getting very hard to doubt them too, because you got to remember it was a time when Bitcoin was like 20, 30 bucks and less than that, and look at what one coin's worth, or even less than that, 7 or 8 bucks, and now one coin's worth for about $2,700. So yeah, that's all something to think about, guys. Something you want to get involved with. Like I said, doesn't have to, based on those calculations, those analysis and predictions by some professionals, some Bitcoin experts, etc. It's definitely something to heed. It's just definitely something to look into. And like I said, there will be more videos about how to buy Bitcoins. There will be videos about how to trade them. There is a right now a promotional going. If you buy like $100 of Bitcoins with Coinbase, you'll get a additional free $10 worth of Bitcoins. I have the link in the description. So that's already a 10% increase on your investment of Bitcoins. So guys, I really like what's going on with Bitcoins right now. I'm definitely a holder of Bitcoins, and I will be making investments and more. Sure, I'll pick up a few hundred more bucks of Bitcoins. Why not? I wouldn't mind holding at least about $1,000 worth of Bitcoins. That way, if it does go to $1 million a coin, that would be looking at about $500,000 worth of Bitcoins. Yeah, guys. And for you guys who, if you don't want to buy Bitcoins, if you just feel it's a bit risky, if you feel it's a bit, just something that you don't quite trust yet, if you're worried about hacking and things like that. And what I want to say about the hacking, and I will make, again, like I said, future videos about it. There have been hacks with Bitcoins, but you have to understand these hacks have been to specific businesses like exchanges. And exchanges, you have to understand, are places where you convert your money and you trade your money. Exchanges aren't really places where you should store your Bitcoins. And we'll talk about that in the future. But a lot of these hacks occur with exchanges. If people would have taken their money out, they wouldn't have had problems with a lot of the hacks and things that happen. But anyway, guys, and I just want to talk to the people who do watch the channel, do some smartphone farming, various things, binary options. This is something I would recommend, and I would say to you that you don't trust or you don't want to try. I have tried a free Bitcoin makers, generators, tappers, and some of them work. I'll do some videos on some that work better than others. Some people make, they say, about $5-7 a day, which isn't bad in Bitcoins because the Bitcoin price is constantly on a few $100 of Bitcoins today. Who knows what they may be worth 2 or 3 months ago from now. So definitely want to look into that. But yeah, these are some to try. I'll do some videos on the ones that are best with your smartphone farming, because you can use your smartphones to obtain them free. And guys, I think that's all I want to say right now on the Bitcoin rally and this Bitcoin phenomenon. But if you like content like this, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, take care.